Hey guys, Joe here, and in today's video we are taking a look at a really cool concealed carry piece. This is the CZ2075 Rami. Let's take a look. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Maybe consider getting subscribed down here or maybe using my Amazon affiliate links. Anything you do to help the channel grow would be greatly appreciated. Then we can get cool stuff like this to check out. Before we get going, obviously, let's do a safety check. Open her up and show that there is nothing in there. You can go ahead and physically check. That's the best way to do it. Visually and physically check. Make sure you're pointed in a safe direction. As always, I'm in a basement and pointed towards a brick wall. We can go ahead and drop the slide on that and set it down so that we can take a look at the box. So this gun comes in the standard CZ box. Gold clasps, black box, looks very classy. Inside, of course, you have your foam that's cut to fit the firearm. You have your warnings and your limited lifetime warranty. You have a gun lock up here as well as a copy of the target from when they actually test fired the pistol. They used to include the actual target. Nowadays they use a digital representation. However, they are very accurate pistols right from the factory. Other than that, not much else in the box to speak on, so we will go ahead and set this up in the background and we can take a look at the firearm. This is the 2075 Rami. Originally introduced, I believe, in 2004. I think it was 2004, and then they released a decocker model in 2010. This is not the decocker model. This has just a standard safety. Some people prefer that, some people do not. When you don't have the decocker mechanism, it does make the trigger a little bit more linear and a little bit lighter. Personally, I don't care about the decocker function because I'm a 1911 guy and I normally carry cocked and locked anyway. As I said in the opening, CZ is basically the masters of the inverted rail system. Many of their firearms carry them. It makes the gun bore axis appear much lower than it would standardly be. I'm not sure that's the right word, but that's the word we're using for this example. But yeah, as you can see, the size of the slide compared to the size of the frame is reversed for most standard firearms, and in fact this is a standard firearm. Let's do a safety check real quick. Nothing in it, nothing in it. And as you can see, this is a Canik TP9 SFX. This is a sub $500 race gun that has all the features of some of the best guns out there. We'll be taking a look at this in the future. I used to have one of these and I think they're an awesome gun. TLDR, you'll have to wait for that video. But as you can see, the frame to slide proportions are basically inverted on these two pistols. Because of that design, it brings the bore axis down a little bit. It's only a ½ an inch, but it can make quite a bit of difference for some shooters. It also allows the weight to sit lower in your hand or give you the feeling of getting your hand up higher on the pistol. As you can see, even though the slide is sitting lower, I don't have any problem with slide bite. My hand isn't high enough to do that. I have on occasion gotten a little bit of a bite from there if I bring it back like this too far, but it's a very rare occurrence with the CZ75. Looking at the outside, you will see that it shares many of the design cues with the standard CZ75. It also has a few changes to it that match other pistols in the lineup. If you recall from this video, I had a CZ P01 Phantom. The Phantom has lightning cuts in it, much like the ones that are on this slide. They help reduce the weight of the top of the pistol. The main difference is the Phantom has a polymer frame and this is an alloy frame. This one also has an undercut below the trigger guard so that you can get more finger on the pistol, because obviously being a subcompact, it's a little bit more difficult to get a full grip on it. With the standard base pad on there, I can only get 2 fingers on it. It's a little bit less convenient for me because my pinky will be basically kind of resting on nothing. The secondary mag that it comes with would probably be the one I would prefer to carry it with. Number one, it gives you a little bit more ammo capacity, and number two, it fills my grip so that I can get a full grip on the pistol. As you can see, it fully fits my hand now. It does have a vertically striated back strap and a checkered front strap, which is very nice to have. Again, aids with holding onto the pistol, especially since you can only get 2 fingers on it. That's a really nice thing to have, just in case. This particular model does have luminescent sights. They are not full night sights, however they will glow if you hit them with a tack light or just a flashlight, or even if you just walk into a bright room before the lights go out, you will get a glowing picture for a little while afterwards. They are a pretty nice sight, however they are not elevation adjustable, they are just knock them over adjustable for windage. You would just loosen the screw and tap the sight over. They are dovetailed in, so you could run any of the other CZ75 sights that are available for the firearm. Let's go ahead and talk about the trigger. In standard double action mode, it's a nice heavy long pull. I'm going to move this box out of the way for a minute so that we can use the back wall for a backdrop. So I've moved the camera up so we can get a better view of the trigger while it's being demonstrated. Here in double action mode, which is hammer down, trigger is all the way in its forward position. It's a straight pull, it's a heavy pull, and it's heavy on purpose for a first shot, as well as I'm putting it back in my pants maneuver. You want the trigger to not just be feather light, because you want to be able to feel it catching, if it's going to catch on your belt loop or your holster, depending on if you have a hammer strap that can block the hammer, or if you're just wearing loose clothing that could get caught in the trigger, below the trigger here. You want to be able to feel it. So if you're putting this away and you can feel that trigger starting to get pulled, then you'll be able to stop it and not have to worry about discharging into your femoral artery. The pull itself is very long and linear, however it's not like jumpy or crunchy, it just goes. Reset from double action mode is pretty much most of the way out, as you can see when I let go. Boom, very little. And then the next shot is exactly the same. In single action mode, you can see the trigger is much farther back, and it has a little bit of take up before it comes to a wall, like most single action pistols do. So you just kind of get in there, pull back a little bit, there's the wall, the trigger stops, the hammer is ready, and you just pull. Much lighter trigger, much easier to pull for your subsequent shots. The reset is also much shorter than in double action mode. Right there, so basically back out to where the wall was. You'll hear it, but you probably won't feel it through a gloved hand. But the next shot, again, is nice, short, and crisp. So good trigger, especially for a carried piece. This gun is not ambidextrous, so the controls are only on the left side. The magazine release might be reversible, however I have not checked, and even if it were, since all the controls are on this side, I'd probably leave it there. Even though I do shoot ambidextrous, I could just kind of drop it with my middle finger, or I can just use my index finger on the other hand to both release and strip the mags, so that's not a big deal. The safety on this gun functions just like a 1911. When the gun is in double action mode, the safety will not engage because it is its own safety at that point. Because it's a 9.5, 9 3/4 pound trigger, it's not just going to go off unless you are the Hulk and you spasm. In single action mode, it works just like a 1911, up for safe, down for fire, and as you can see, you can carry it then cocked and locked, because it kills the trigger. This is the way I personally would carry it, because I want to make sure that I have a very consistent experience with the trigger. I prefer a very short trigger in my firearms. I don't like a long pull. If I wanted a long pull, I would get something that has double action only. Now that we've taken a look at the outside, let's go ahead and pop the top off. In order to do that, let's start by doing another safety check. Drop it back and physically check. No bullets, no bullets. So you can go ahead and drop the slide. You're going to want to bring the gun's hammer all the way forward and then bring it back just to this first notch. That will kind of engage the hammer into that slightly rearward position. CZs used to put a mark back here that you can line up, but typically now you can just do this in order to line up the slide. It will naturally stop against the hammer. Once you do that, you will need to push out the slide lock slide release. It's very tight because this is a brand new pistol, so I'm going to use the base of a magazine to push it out. Ow! That was very owie. Yeesh. Very tight. These will become a little bit easier to manipulate once the gun has been fully broken in. I'm going to use this to pop the slide lock out. Nice catch. And then you are free to take the top off the frame. You do not need to pull the trigger. Underneath, you will see that it has the guide rod and the spring. You do not want to just let it go, because even though the rear half of the double nested spring is there, it is not captive for the first part. Make sure you pay attention to which end is closed. On some pistols, one end is open. However, on this one, they're both closed, so you're good to go there. So you can just go ahead and keep those together and set those down. Taking a look at the barrel. Come on. It is a very stubby barrel. It is also using the breech lock method as well as the Browning lockup down here. However, this one is not a swinging link, it's just a closed link. Ramped barrel, so your hollow points should feed very easily. Taking a look inside of the slide itself, it's nicely finished. It's not overly complicated. It does have a drop safety, so you don't have to worry about it going off if you drop it, supposedly. That doesn't mean that you can just run around willy-nilly dropping your gun, but it should make it a little bit less likely to go off in the event that happens. Taking a look at the frame, one thing I'm seeing is that they did not finish the inside of the frame. I'm not sure if that was done on purpose, or if it was a cost-saving measure, or if this gun is a oddity in the lineup. If you have a Rami, let me know if your inside of your frame is powder coated or not. I'm not sure exactly what this coating is. It's CZ's coating. But if your gun looks like that inside, I'd like to know. It is nicely finished in there, but yes, as you can see, it is a contrasting color. Doesn't matter as long as it functions. And here you can get a good view of the inverted rail system I was speaking of. It also aids in accuracy because it runs the full length of the inside of the frame, which means the slide can't sit there and wobble like it can on some guns that have the multi-point touching areas, like 2 up here, 2 back there. It leaves the gun to wobble a little bit more. So here's your trigger mechanism. You have your ejector there, you have your spring going to your hammer here. You can see there's your release. When you pull the trigger, it's going to drop that down, which will then release the hammer and let it come home. Pretty simple design, pretty easy to manufacture. I am impressed that it's a yoke style versus just a single-sided trigger bar like some guns have, most guns for that fact. Beretta uses a trigger bar on one side. 1911s are typically the only ones I see with a yoke style trigger. It field strips down, and it's very similar to a 1911, or actually more accurately a Browning when it's field stripped, and it's pretty easy to maintain and keep clean. So with those 5 parts, minus the magazines of course, you are completely field stripped and ready to service the pistol. Reassembly is exactly the opposite. You take your slide, you take your barrel, you kind of wiggle it in there, and bring it back until it locks up on the breech. That is breech lock. It comes up and actually locks up on the front of the slide's breech or ejection port. I don't know why I said breech. The breech is back here. Take your spring, make sure that it's on the guide rod, and that you put the bigger end towards the hole here in the front. So you do that. This is not under a lot of pressure. This first spring is pretty soft. This is the one that does most of the compression, or most of the absorption. This is the English, guys. Don't try it at home. This is the spring that does most of the shock absorption. This one is mostly for the beginning movement of the slide, so it's very easy to get back into position. You want to make sure that this spring is completely flat going across the gap there, otherwise the gun will not go back together correctly. So as you can see, I pulled the hammer back all the way when I was showing the inside of the fire control group. That's perfectly fine. You don't want to drop the hammer on a gun with no slide on it, but it's not going to hurt anything to put the hammer all the way back on this particular firearm. Just don't pull the trigger while you're reassembling it, okay? All you need to do now is take your slide and your frame, and you're going to mate up that frame rail system, which is very nice, easy, and convenient. And as you can see, the gun comes back nice and smooth. This is a very dry gun, yet it is still very smooth. I'm quite impressed, I say. Because of the way the link is designed, you don't have to sit and line up a swinging link, so it's a lot easier to get back into position. So what you'll do is you'll kind of wiggle it in there, get it started, and then you're going to bring back the slide. In fact, at this point, I would actually reset the hammer to its first cock position so that you can make sure to get the hammer and the slide and everything lined up in position. Again, this gun is very tight. That gets easier as the gun gets older, but once you do that, go ahead and rack it and test it. So that is the Rami 75 by CZ, and what do I think of it? I think it's pretty cool. It's a little bit smaller than I would carry personally, just because I have somewhat larger hands that need a extended magazine in order to fill my hands. If I'm going to do that, I might as well go with just the standard compact CZ75 or a commander size 1911. Personally, being a larger gentleman, I don't print as easily even with a full framed gun, so again, it doesn't really apply to me as much. However, if I was in a situation where I needed a shorter frame so that I could wear something lighter or go without a jacket or a sweatshirt or a hoodie, whatever the case may be, then something like this would definitely be on my list or on my radar. Now, I can never tell you exactly what's going to work for you. The best way for you to find that out is to go to your local gun store. Hopefully they'll have some stuff in with the pandemic. Good luck. But if they do, then you can go ahead and pick them up. So as of the time of this filming, this gun is still available and for sale at Liberty Arms. I put this up one day after I filmed it, so hopefully they still have it. Call them up, say, hey, I saw it on the Jiminy Show, I'd like to check it out, or I want to make a deal, or whatever the case may be, and they will hook you up. They're good people. They are not gouging on the price. It's a CZ. Normally these things retail for about $6.99. I believe they have it for around $600, which is a pretty good price, especially in today's market. So call them up, check it out. You can find all that information by Googling it, or if somebody wants to put it in the comments, I'll pin it. I can't put it down in the comments because if I do, it's instant demonetization because then I'm promoting a seller. So we're not going to be doing that. Come back for the next firearm video, which will be the Canik you saw in this video, which is a really cool race pistol for under $500. Otherwise, I'm out of here. Let me know your stories if you own one, if you like the way it works, what modifications you've done. Come back again. Support the channel by using the Amazon affiliate links or just subscribing. And, as always, I'll talk to you later.